Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next avatar video. This is going to be my next avatar Weiss Schwarz deck building video specifically, and this one will be about the Azula deck that I put out a poll, and this is what won. You guys wanted to see a red Azula deck up first, and so that's what I'm going to do here. So just before I get into kind of going through the kind of breakdown of what's in the deck, I just want to explain sort of a little bit of the kind of deck building philosophy here about why certain card choices won't be here. The aim is not necessarily with this deck to build the absolute best possible deck, sort of mainly utilizing this main Azula combo, but more to make a deck that is kind of on theme to Azula. So we'll be as much as possible focusing the deck in on Azula, Mei, Ty Lee cards, and also staying out of the way of other deck archetypes, because I'm trying to build a sort of set of decks that I can have built continuously without having to sort of split cards between them and stuff like that, because otherwise there would be specific cards where you'd need 16 copies of it because it's a 4 of in every single deck. You'll see more of this when I get to actually going through the specific card breakdown, but I just want to make that clear from the start that I will cover sort of how to make the deck, better if you want to use this as your focused on deck, but note that it will kind of be purposefully more of a 7 out of 10 rather than aiming to be a 9 or a 10 out of 10. We're still going for the main combos, but we're trying to make it so that we can have a red Azula deck on the go. We can have a full power kind of Katara deck, and there's not too much overlap, that sort of thing. So straight away, the Azula deck. We of course are trying to use the Azula double R here, Azula Verge of Insanity. Now this climax combos with this climax card, Siblings Agni Kai. So straight away we're going to be playing 4 copies of the Azula and 4 copies of Siblings Agni Kai. The other climax combo in the deck is also an Azula combo. This is the level 1 Azula Talented Sister Rare, and that combos with Falling Out climax card. Do note that this makes the deck 4 standby, 4 door as the trigger symbol breakdown. So of course standby allows you to sort of get ahead on level. When you trigger it or use it, you bring out a card that is a level above what your current level is. You can, but it comes in at rest. Whereas the door, when it triggers, gets you a character card from the waiting room. So do note that difference. And then you might be wondering, why is this Sokka here? If we're going all Azula, the Sokka is here because this is a combination of cards that we can't avoid. It would be silly for us to avoid the synergy between this Sokka and what the Azula deck is actually doing. Now this Sokka, in case you are unfamiliar with it, is the Sokka offering different perspectives. It's a rare, and it's got a very powerful effect. So it's a level 0, so it doesn't really matter that it goes into a red deck primarily. We will have some other blue cards as we'll get to. So what the Sokka does, and we'll make it really clear from the start, is that this card triggers when it is placed on the stage from your hand or put into your waiting room from the stage. You may then pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 cost 0 or lower World of Avatar character with level equal or lower to your level and put it on any position on the stage, and then shuffle your deck. So that is a really, really important kind of thing to note about this, is that it triggers when you place it on the stage, but it also, what we're mainly looking at, is that it triggers when it leaves the stage and goes to the waiting room. Whereas you'll note that something very thematic about some of the Azula cards is that the effect is on flavor, that she kind of isolates herself. She gets rid of the people around her. And part of the cost is to send a character from your field to the waiting room. And so that is present on this Azula here. There's a level 2 Azula, which I'll bring up a little bit in a minute, that can also do it. But also, the standby can do the same thing. It allows you to basically place the character that you put out on standby on any position on the stage, including over the top of wherever Sokka is, which would trigger his effect when he leaves the field. So that's the other important kind of thing to kind of realize here as well, that's how that works. So that's what we're trying to do. Like, this is a kind of very kind of like abusable card, because what that means is what we're trying to do here is when we're attacking, try and get Sokka to the waiting room using effects. He will then get other cards out onto the field, because he doesn't, unlike standby, he doesn't specify that they have to come into play at rest. And so if a card comes into play standing up and attack, it can attack. And so you can do some very, very crazy things here. And so that's what this deck is trying to do. It is trying to utilize at kind of basically at level 1, 3, but also 2, some ways to combo with the Sokka overall. So that's what we're going to do here. So straight away, we have 4 copies of the Azula Verge of Insanity. We have 4 copies of Siblings Agni Kai. We do have 4 copies of Azula Talented Sister. 4 copies of Falling Out. And we do have 4 copies of the Sokka. That is our kind of main lineup of sort of cards that are part of our combos. But there's some other cards that work with all of this. So the Azula to work properly, for the Climax combo to work, you are required to have this card, Tylee Popular, on the field. So we are going to play 2 copies of Tylee Popular. So the reason for that is because she is an assist card in the back row. So she will only ever be in the back row, and she's not really going to leave the back row when she's on the field. So we're fine with 2 copies of her, and we will hope to have that ready for when we get to the end of the game. That's fine. We're going to play 4 copies of the level 0 Tylee Betrayal. Because we need the ability to kind of get the level 3 into our hand, and this is sort of the way to do that. So her secondary effect is that when this card is sent to the waiting room, so you'll note the combo potential with the Azulas, she can eliminate fellow ally characters, so she can do that with the Sokka, she can do that to this Tylee, and if you do that, you discard a character from your hand, and you can search your deck for an Azula Verge of Insanity, which is this card, or another card that we're going to play is May Betrayal. So we have these 2 here. That's a really important kind of effect, and also she can get rid of level 0s if she gets reversed. So that's what we're going to do here. So yeah, we have the Tylee at 4 copies. We play the May Betrayal at 4 copies. This is a Brainstorm, and specifically this Brainstorm is top 4 cards to the waiting room for every climax. Search your deck. I'd say it's probably the second best climax. Brainstorm in the set after the Toph Brainstorm, but of course we are saving the Toph Brainstorm for the Toph deck because it's on theme. This is quite good. It has Resonate as well, where if you show off a Azula Verge of Insanity in your hand, 2 of your characters get 500, which is decent, is definitely decent. We're also going to be playing, here's the level 2 Azula that I talked about. This is Azula Sinister Scheme. Now, this is notable because this works with the Sokka as well. If you're worried about your end game, maybe you're not seeing much of the Climax combo to make this effect go off, maybe you're somewhat low on stock, you can only really deal with this or whatever, you can do the combo pretty much. It almost works a little bit better at level 2, but you want the kind of power play at level 3. But it's possible at level 2. She has the effect, which is just when this card attacks, pay the cost, look at the top card of your deck. If it's level 1 or higher, it goes to your hand. But the cost is eliminate one of your own characters. So that works with the Sokka and the Tylee if you absolutely need to. So that's what we're playing there. And again, we are standby, so we don't mind having like a bunch of level 2s here and level 3s because we can get to them somewhat easily. Then in terms of kind of stuff that's a little bit more kind of on theme, we're going to play 3 copies of the level 1 May Moody. We're going to play 2 copies of the level 1 Aang Wavering Confidence. This is mainly because the way the Sokka works, the cards that he can actually put onto the field have to be cost 0. Now, they're the level that you are or below. Now, there are only cost 0 cards in the Avatar set at level 1 or 0. So in terms of having success with the cards you bring out to do the extra attacks, this is kind of just what these 2 cards are there for. Red doesn't have like an amazing lineup at level 1, so that's why we have to kind of go into Aang and maybe go a little bit kind of off the theme that we necessarily want. But the May is 7,000 on your turn. And when she is sent to the waiting room, you can pay 2 and you can get a character from your waiting room into your hand. So, you know, we're playing into the whole theme of like we can take out other characters, not just the Sokka. We're also going to play 2 copies of this level 0 red Aang Firebending Misfire. Placed on stage, all characters in your opponent's stage get minus 500 power. And when this... Wait, what am I saying here? You have an activate ability here, which is choose an avatar character in your waiting room and return it to your hand. If you put a card from your hand into the discarded card, and then also get rid of this card. This is just like a kind of free, kind of almost like you need to filter cards. This deck, where it is kind of weak, and I think where the avatar set is weak in general, is that it doesn't have a great capacity early on in the game to get you to the cards that you need. So early on, like you can absolutely miss being able to go off at level 1 and do the level 1 combo if you don't come across this, because you don't really have ability to like search out the climax card. So just any way to get to the characters that you need and just filter cards is good and required. This is where we're going to get into some of the other picks. Like the rest of the cards are no longer red. So what way am I going to do this? So we need another level 3. And this is where you notice a weakness with red in the sense that like I'm trying to be on theme here. But even then, like you have other cards at red that you can use. Like there's the level 3 Zuko for Honor. But that requires you to also play the level 3 Iroh and then go off in a slightly different direction. There's the level 3 Aang and Zuko, but that requires you to play into that whole thing and that climax combo. The level 3 Iroh is a brainstorm, but again, it works with the Zuko side of the deck, which we're not leaning into because we're leaning into the sort of like Sokka play rather than Azula and Zuko deck. So that doesn't really work. It kind of means we have to go into a different color for our other level 3. And again, the weakness with the Avatar set is that there's not that many great level 3s that aren't part of a specific climax combo. So you're left with this deck where it's kind of red with a bit of blue. As this trial deck, Katara protecting Aang. Or if you don't care about playing a blue deck, you could play the Katara Desire to Help. But I think this one works a little bit better because like Azula's eliminating cards. So I think the Katara, in the way she works, doesn't quite maybe do exactly what you want. Whereas this one can protect like Azula if your finisher doesn't quite go off and works with standby. It kind of functions a little bit okay in my opinion. So I've just put that in there. But that is definitely, I would say, one of the kind of weaker kind of card choices in the deck. And it's kind of... But I would also say it's also a slot that's maybe not super important as well, but there's that. Also, at level 2 Katara Vengeful. So this is a backup, and I feel this is just slightly on theme because this is Katara willing to wipe someone out. That's kind of what Azula wants to do. So I thought it was sort of fitting while also adding a little bit into blue. It's quite a powerful backup, and then again, it can fully like eliminate a card into memory as well, which is decent. Just to add a little bit more blue in. And then just to fill out the level 0 lineup here, I have 2 Aang, the Boy Trapped in Ice, just because we need a searcher. Again, we need as many cards as possible that can get us the cards that we need. And I think this just works well. There's really not many drop search. I think it's like the only drop search in this whole set. So that's where we're playing that. We are playing 1 copy of UA Moon Spirit just to have another level 0 option that gives power. So it's tap to add 1,500 power. And then finally 2 copies of Momo Winged Lemur as well. Very important card. And I would almost say like this is probably like a card that goes in nearly every deck. I think you need this because it is free kind of filtering. It puts cards that are in your waiting room back into your deck, which for this deck in particular is really, really important because the way the Sokka works, what you're trying to do with the Sokka is basically get Sokka off the field and then have Sokka summon a copy of himself from the deck onto the field. So you need to have your Sokkas in the deck. So the Momo is important to put Sokkas in the waiting room back into your deck. And then also the climax swap secondary effect of the Momo is super important as well. In this deck where you don't have an amazing ability to search out the climax cards you need, the ability to swap if you have the Siblings Agni Kai but you need to do the level 1 combo early on, and vice versa is important. So I think this is kind of like, you have to have this Momo, and I think 2 copies is the right amount. So I'll just point out at this point some different options that kind of are important. So if you did want to lean into like, okay, the Azula deck is what I want to do, how do I just incredibly improve the deck? Straight away, one thing would be that, like, play Toph Wanted, the green Brainstorm. Play 4 copies of this instead of the May Betrayal. It's just, I think the fact that this Brainstorm goes to the waiting room and then its other effect sort of assists with the Brainstorm is just a massive improvement. But like I said, we're kind of trying to do more themed decks, staying in with the colors as much as possible. So we'll be using this in the Toph deck when we get around to it. But if you want to make Azula your best deck, Toph should go straight in. And I would say that probably the main change that should happen here is you probably, you still keep the Sokka in, but you lean the rest of your colors maybe away from blue and more into green, because I think a card that probably should get added in is replacing the level 3 Katara up here with this Toph Melon Lord. Again, because it's level 3, you need other cards so you can play it by based on the color identity. So you need to have like the Brainstorm in here to make this one work. So you can like have the right cards in your clock and level. This is probably one of the better kind of non-climax card level 3s in the set, because it's a stock swap for your opponent, and it's got a decent effect on direct attack as well. And it's kind of more, I think, like what you want compared to some of the other more gimmicky ones. So that, with that, I'd also probably say, just to make the green flow a little bit better, maybe replace the 2 Katara Vengeful with the Toph and Aang backup. That way you lean a little bit more into green. Other than that, I would just say, like, it's kind of just leaning the deck into a little bit more of the Zuko card. So like I said, I think there is some value to just playing the Zuko for honor, even if you're not going to play and use it for the climax combo. Like if you're not going to play the Iroh, just having 2 copies of this instead of the Katara is a decent option. But I think I'm going to be using this for the Zuko deck itself, so that's why I've kept it out of this list. Like I said before, the Katara Desire to Help is maybe a decent option, but I'm probably going to be using this in the actual blue Katara and Sokka deck. Similarly, at level 0, this maybe should get included ahead of maybe like a copy of Ty Lee Betrayal, perhaps a copy of Boy Trapped in Ice or something like that. 2 Zuko Crossroads could be quite good, I think, in the deck. But like I said, I think I want to use this in the Zuko deck itself, but it would also be decent in this Azula deck. And then other level 0 in reds, I would say Zuko T-Server is a decent option, and then Zuko and Iroh Forgiveness, like maybe 1 or 2 copies of each of these in exchange for maybe some of the blue here, maybe a Firebending Misfire, swap it out in that way. And that should make for, I think, a relatively good improvement of the deck if you're trying to maximize what the Azula deck is doing. So just be aware of that. But like I said, the whole, like, what your other level 3 is doesn't matter too much, because you're hoping to finish on like a play of 3 Azulas with the Sokka and go in for 3 climax combo Azula attacks, and then Sokka will give you hopefully 1 or 2 extra attacks, maybe more, depending on what you want to do. So just before we go into some gameplay, directly like this versus another deck, I do want to just showcase the combos, because it's slightly complicated how exactly it ends up working, and you really need to, I think, play around with it a little bit yourself to understand what exactly is happening here. So let me set this up. Okay, so to quickly explain some of the combos, just because the whole Sokka combo thing can be a little bit tricky to understand compared to a lot of other Weiss Schwarz stuff where it's very much just do what it says on the card. This one, there's a little bit more card sequencing involved. So we're going to kind of show off the level 1 combo, the level 2 combo, the level 3 combo relatively quickly. So at level 1, you've no guaranteed way to take out your Sokka and activate his effect. You are relying on hopefully triggering the standby climax. So you want to hit a copy of this on one of your attacks. And the whole idea of level 1, why it's kind of part of your combo, is that Azula's effect allows you to sort of, you know, rig the top of your deck. So let's just sort of go through. So let's say we have this. We have full level 1 combo, 3 level 1 Azulas, the right climax card falling out, and a Sokka in the back row. So we go in and we attack. So this one says when it attacks, you have 2 more characters, you have the right climax card. Reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. So this is before your attack trigger, so do keep that in mind. So you detect the top 3. What happens then is your opponent chooses one of these cards to put into your hand. So they're going to choose the weakest card possible, but they have to choose a character. So even if you show them a climax, they can't, get rid of that. So let's say they just give us the Ty Leap, and then we get to choose one of the remaining 2 cards to put on top of our deck. So this is where we get to rig our trigger check. So we put the climax on top, the other card goes to the waiting room, and then our attack goes through, and you can see we get the door climax. So that's the kind of like other one, of course. This becomes stock, and that allows us to get a card out of the waiting room, of course. But you can see the idea here is it allows us to dig a little bit deeper. So yeah, she actually basically flips 3 cards off the top of the deck, and if any of those 3 is the standby climax, you can get that. So that's kind of what you're hoping to hit as you kind of go through the deck. So you can see here, this time out, we actually did hit the climax. So they can't give that to us. They're just going to be like, okay, take the Aang into your hand. The Ty Leap goes to waiting room. We then put this on top of our deck. The attack goes through. We triggered the standby climax. And this is what allows us to kind of kill the Sokka. So this is, of course, you take a card from the waiting room, and then basically you can play it anywhere on stage, including onto the position where Sokka is. So you overplay, and it goes to the waiting room. So just for instance, like we're at level 1 here, let's say, we can put the level 2 that we just discarded off the effect here onto the place of Sokka. Sokka's effect then activates. I probably should have more of a waiting room here to actually do this. So let's just do this. So yeah, Sokka's effect activates. We pay 1 from our stock, of course. We also have to put a character from our waiting room into our clock. So we have to give ourselves a damage. That's going to become stock, of course. And then what we're allowed to do is we're allowed to search our deck for a cost 0 character and put it anywhere on the field. Unlike standby, this card is going to come in standing up. So a lot of times, like what you can do here to keep the combo going is to put a Sokka onto the board and hope that you continuously kind of keep getting the triggers. Now at level 1, because you're relying on the trigger effect, it probably won't necessarily continue that way. So at level 1, you probably are maybe slightly better just choosing like a cost 0, like a level 1. And what you do is you overplay it over the top of one of the Azulas that is already attacked. So that's what happens there. So yeah, this is all kind of done now. So you can see we have we've gone up in standby. So we get the effect of standby, kind of going up a card, going up a level. But now we have another attacker. We just did our second attack. Now the May can attack. And you can see as we do more attacks, we get more triggers, we get more opportunity to extend the combo. So we do the flip, that one goes through. And then the last attack goes through. So again, it's the Azula effect on climax. So again, they're going to give us the weakest card, probably the Ty Lee. We'll put the soul on top. Now, this might be a situation where your opponent is like, oh, I don't want you to have the extra soul, take the soul. So you can't put that on top of your deck. And then we're forced to just do something like that. So then this will be our flip for turn. And you can see there is a turn where we did 4 attacks. So that's the kind of level 1 idea. And then, of course, if you're really confident that you can hit the multiple kind of triggers, the idea is that instead of the May, you bring the Sokka in, you attack. So there's like your third attack. And then let's say this happens. If you hit the standby trigger here, then what you do is you do the standby trigger of like one of your cards over the top of the Sokka. The Sokka effect goes off again. And then you get to put a card from your, this is where you get to put a card from your deck onto the field. So, you overplay the Aang or something like that, and that's how you get like 5 attacks. Now, you have to keep in mind that that's how this is going to kind of work on all of the other levels as well. they will have different ways to trigger those effects in terms of killing the Sokka, but you can still do the standby version of the combo as well as you go forward also. So now let's just quickly set up the level 2 play. There's a lot more variety with what you can do. With the Azula play, you sort of need to rely on multiple level 1s to guarantee you get the right trigger flip. Do keep that in mind. You also probably don't want to go full all in on the Sokka combo. Again, it depends where in the game you're at, because you want to guarantee that you're in a board state where you can actually put all the cards that you need kind of onto the field as well. So like that is important to remember, that like if your deck doesn't have Sokkas, you can't do the Sokka combo like as well as you probably want to. So yeah, let's just organize some stuff here. So the level 2 is obviously the Azula Sinister Scheme. I'll just do a slightly more simplified board state here. So like say like it's just that you have on the field. Say it's pretty early level 2, maybe you got some early standbys, which is why you have Azulas on the field at this point in the game. Let's say we just have a couple of standby style stuff going on, and that's that. We'll just give ourselves some stuff into the clock. Yeah, let's say it's just something like that. So, how does this one work? So the level 2 Azula has an effect that says when she attacks, you can pay the cost, which is basically killing one of your avatar characters. So that's how you straight away get the guaranteed defeat of the Sokka. So that's something you can do. Now the sequencing again is you want to attack with the Sokka first. So do you want the Sokka kind of like done on the field? So we go flip, we get our trigger, we go, then the Azula goes. So the Azula, again, it's on attack sort of declaration. We kill the Sokka. Now her effect says that when we do that, we get to reveal the top card of our deck. If it is a level 1 or higher, it goes to our hand. Otherwise, it goes back on the top of the deck. So that was a level 0. Obviously, like the attack goes through whatever way you want to do it. That's what happens here. Like you do the trigger flip, that all happens. And then you're able to pay for the Sokka, which has gone to the waiting room. So you pay 1. You give yourself a damage with a character from your waiting room onto the bottom of your clock. And you were able to take a cost 0 character and put it onto the field. Now there's a level specification, but in this set you only need to worry about level 1s and 0s. So that's what you can do. So we just overplay a Sokka with a Sokka that is standing up. So that is perfectly fine. The second attack has gone through. That's great. Then you attack with the Sokka. So you do your attack, you do your trigger, and that's all fine. So straight away you have 1, 2, 3 attacks immediately. Then you attack with the Azula. And again, you kill this Sokka this time out. And we get to look at the top card. It's a level 0 again, so it goes on top of the deck. It becomes our trigger flip. You know, our attack goes through. Then the Sokka triggers. So again, we pay 1, give ourselves a character damage from our waiting room, and we're able to put another card onto the field. Now again, this is where you can see we're kind of like running out of kind of things to do. Obviously, you're hoping that you constantly get the standby trigger checks, so that's why you might want to put more Sokkas on board. Maybe at this point in the game, you don't go like further into the Sokkas, so you could choose to end with a different level 1 or whatever. So in this deck, you know, the options are the level 1 Aang, the level 1 Mei is probably like a decent option to do your kind of final attack, or you can just put another Sokka onto the board at this point and hope that kind of something goes your way here. It's up to you about what you want to do, like if you feel you can get damage through or not. So your option is to put like as your kind of, in a way, kind of final attack here, the Mei attacks and you do your kind of trigger flip and see what happens. That's kind of what you're trying to do. Because again, the trigger here would have been this, so either way, if it's this or this, it doesn't particularly matter. Of course, the Sokka has the effect where, like, if the opponents kill it, you can still use his effect more kind of normally. So that's how that works. And then finally, the level 3 combo. Let's do full combo here. So 3 of these. This is what you're going for to finish the game. There's a few other things you need. So you need this in the back row, and you need the Tai Li, the level 2 Tai Li. So let me just find that, and we can do the combo. Again, the climax combo requires level 2 Ty Popular is on the field for it to even work. So you do need that. You do also need the climax card itself, of course. So also keep that in mind. So again, at this point you're probably level 3. Do keep a lot of that stuff in mind as well. And we will go through this. So the first thing to remember is, like, during your turn when you do this, the Azula has the on-play heal effect, so you're probably healing yourself a couple of damage and stuff like that. So do also remember that sort of stuff. And then the other thing is, you have to play the climax card. So when you play this, the standby effect goes off. So if you don't have either of these two on the field, this is a way to get it. Like, you activate the standby, and then from the waiting room, you can grab yourself a Sokka onto the field, or the Ty Popular onto the field. Now, they'll come into play at rest because of the standby effect, but you don't need either of these two active, because our initial attackers are going to be the Azulas, and then the Sokka's effect will bring in other characters at ready into play. So do keep in mind, like, if you just have either of these two in the waiting room, when you activate this card, you can get either one of them via standby. So let's just say we got the Ty into play by standby, and our turn is ready to go. Now, the way the Azula climax combo works is that the effect happens on reverse of the opponent. So most of the attack is done at that point, because the power comparison is, like, basically the last part of the thing. Damage is already done, then it activates. So let's do this. So you, of course, have to attack with an Azula. So that's what happens here. So we attack, we do our trigger check, that's fine. You know, they take a certain amount of damage and so on. Then, when the card's battle opponent becomes reversed, again, you have to reverse the opponent, you have to have Siblings Agni Kai, and you have to have Ty Popular on the field. If you do, put that battle opponent on top of your opponent's deck and deal 3 damage to your opponent. So it's a big finisher play, because when you do that, you are putting a character which is a guaranteed non-cancel on top of your opponent's deck. So they're taking 3 damage with only 2 opportunities to actually cancel it. So that's the kind of benefit of the Azula, where you've already done theoretically 2-3 damage from the attack. This is then the effect going off. But you do have to pay the cost, which is pay 1 stock and put a character from your field into the waiting room. So we pay 1 character from the field into the waiting room. So that is going to be the Sokka, of course. And we do our damage at this point. The attack is completely done. Now the Sokka effect activates. So again, we pay 1, but we also give ourselves a damage from our waiting room. And then this allows us to search our deck for a level 0 character. Now this is going to be the Sokka. So the Sokka will overplay the Azula that literally just attacked. That goes to the waiting room, and we shuffle our deck because we searched our deck. So that's fine. That's the first attack. The Sokka is the second attack, of course. So you can see here you're gaining stock the entire time. I didn't even need this much stock to demonstrate this to you. So that's the second attack. The third attack then comes in. So the Azula, flip. Now, it's a little bit unfortunate that the Sokka here was part of the flip, but, you know, it happens, of course. We do our damage. We pay for the on reverse effect, so it's 1, and then we have to eliminate a character, which is going to be the Sokka, of course. So that all goes through. And again, keep in mind the amount of damage that's coming through. Each Azula is doing 2 chunks of damage if her effect goes off, and then you're having occasional extra attacks with Sokka. But now we play the Sokka, so 1, and we give ourselves the damage. And this allows us to put another card onto the field. So I think this is the last Sokka in the deck, so we just put the Sokka there. And we again shuffle. And we go. So that was the third attack. This is the fourth attack. And now the final Azula attacks. So again, we flip. Her stuff goes through. We pay 1. We eliminate a character. That damage all happens. We pay for Sokka. 1. Give ourselves the damage. Search our deck. At this point we are out of Sokka, so the only thing we can actually do is put a level 1 or whatever onto the field. So again, you have different options. You can put the level 1 Azula onto the field if you wish. Like I said before, the Mei is a good option, and there is also the level 1 Aang somewhere as well. Yeah, Aang, Wavering Confidence. A lot of those are, I think, very reasonable options as well. You could maybe put the level 0 Ty Lee onto the field, because it also has a kind of like effect when sent to the waiting room from hand. But I'd say probably the Mei is maybe the best option. Maybe put this onto the field if you happen to late game have Falling Out in your hand. But, you know, the Mei is probably the overall best option. And so you can do an attack here. So we flip, and that's for Mei's attack. So you can see there the amount of like extra damage that you're getting in. We went like, what way did that work? It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attacks kind of throughout all of that. And that's also keeping in mind that we didn't get to use all of our Sokkas. Like one of them was flipped over as part of the triggers and stuff like that. But you can see what the deck is trying to do with that kind of explanation of the combos. And it's just like getting the sequencing of things right. Again, I don't think there's any other plays in this game that are as complicated as that. There are some times where you have to hold on to specific cards, but in terms of actually just keeping an eye on like what you're doing and how many cards are in your deck, this is far and away probably one of the more complicated plays that you're ever going to do in Avatar Weiss Schwarz. But from there, we'll move on to some gameplay. Okay, so here is the gameplay. This is going to be the Azula deck against a stock trial deck. This is probably just the best way to showcase the Azula deck in action, because that's what we're kind of here to see overall. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to have the trial deck go first. I've already done the mulligans here, and we'll just get straight into the opening turn. So they draw. They're going to clock this to draw 2. And again, on the opening turn, there's only 1 attack, so they're just going to put the Katara new necklace onto the field, which allows them to check the top card, put it into hand so long as they discard a different card, so they'll just discard the same one. Beyond that, they'll just put the level 0 siblings, Katara and Sokka siblings, into the back row to add a little bit of kind of power boost here. And beyond that, they'll just attack. So attack, flip, nothing. And then we take 2 damage here. 1, 2, which is fine. And then we go into the Azula deck's turn. So we draw for turn. And what do we clock here? This is a nice card to have, but I don't think we need it right now. So we'll clock the Momo, draw 2. So we have the Azula in hand, level 3 Azula. Also have the level 2 and 1 Azula, so that's kind of nice. But we have to start off at level 1, of course. So, what are we going to do here? So we'll just play the Mei over here. And we'll also play the Ty Lee here. So we'll just field the 2 sides here and just go for some damage initially. So again, we'll just attack. So Ty Lee attacks. So flip. We get the door icon. So there's not much in the waiting room now. So we just get the Aang into our hand. And then the... sorry, I forgot to do the damage there. So 1, 2 damage. So that's fine. And then this attack. So flip, no trigger, and 2 damage again. 1, 2. That's no problem. And then it's back around to this deck's turn. So draw. They'll clock, of course, to draw 2. Lots of climax cards in hand here. They will stand this. The Aang goes onto the field, so this will cost a stock. And to discard a card from hand to search the deck for any other card. So, at this point, they'll get a level 1, and they'll get the Zuko Agni Kai to set up for eventually getting to level 1 next time out, probably. So there's that, and they will just put Sokka ship steering onto the field. So, what way do they want to do things? Yeah, probably this is the best way to do things. Here. So the Katara attacks. Her effect will give 1,500 power to the Sokka. So we're flipping nothing. And this is 2 damage because it's the open field. So 1, 2. So that's 5 damage done there. The Sokka will then do a frontal attack. So we flip. Okay, so there's the gate icon. So is there a climax in here? There is not. But that still will do an extra damage, of course. So that's happening here. The Tylee will be reversed, but this is doing 2 damage. So 1, 2. That's cancelled. And then the attack over here, which is more than powerful enough. So attack, nothing on the trigger, and then this is just 1 damage. So flip. We take the 1 damage, of course. And May will be reversed. We will not be saving either of them. So May will go to the waiting room, and Tylee will go to the waiting room as well. But Tylee has the effect, when she is sent to the waiting room, pay the cost, and I can search for either the level 3 Azula or a copy of May Betrayal. Now, that is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to discard the level 2 Azula from hand to get a level 0 May into my hand. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I don't have any other level 0s, and I can get to level 1 by clocking, I suppose, next turn. But I want to have some level 0s like the May in hand, because we're not quite at level 3 yet, of course, for the other cards. So that's what we'll do there. So it is now our turn, so we draw for turn, of course. The hand's coming together pretty nicely, so we'll just clock the Azula to draw 2. This brings us up a level, so we will put a red card in as our level marker. The other 3 go away. So yeah, we're on level 1 now. So we can actually do some stuff here. So yeah, we'll throw out the level 1 Azulas, 2 of them. And then why not also put out the Aang Wavering Confidence over here. Also level 1. And into the back row I will put the May Betrayal. Now I think we are going to play the Climax card this turn as well. So let me just think about what I want to do here. So yeah, I'll activate the Brainstorm effect of May. So pay 1 and rest. Flip over the top 4 cards of our deck. There's 1 Climax card there. So we get to search our deck for a character and show it to our opponent and put it into our hand. So that's fantastic. What will I get? At this point, I'm actually just going to grab a Sokka for kind of later on, so I can try and get the combo going a little bit. Okay. We can also use the Resonate effect in our hand, which is to obviously reveal that we have level 3 Azula to our opponent. 2 of our characters get plus 500 power. In this case, the power doesn't matter too much. We're just higher, like I think, across the board by like a pretty large amount. Plus, we're going to do the Climax combo this turn. So I think at this point, yeah, all the other effects are fine. I'll calculate the exact power of this stuff later on. Aang has an on-reverse effect. But yeah, we'll go into the Climax phase. We'll play Falling Out. That is plus 1 soul to everything, plus 1,000 power as well. And we will get going here. So we'll start with the Azula here. So again, on attack, we get to look at the top 3. Our opponent chooses a character to give us to our hand. They'll just give us, I guess, the level 2 Azula. The Sokka goes to the waiting room, and we get to put the trigger on top of the deck. So this is what triggers for our turn. That means we get a card from the waiting room into our hand, which I am going to choose level 3 Azula. So that's nice. So yeah, 2 damage coming in. So 1, 2. That's fine. And I think that finally, yeah, that brings them up a level. So, what do they have in hand? They probably want a yellow card in the level. But no, they have a yellow one there. So they'll put the, put the UA in as the level marker, and then this yellow damage remains. So that's fine. That worked out pretty nicely. The next Azula will attack. So again, look at the top three. Our opponent has to choose to give us, I guess, the Ty Lee. The Sokka goes to waiting room, but we know we're going to get the standby trigger here, which is very nice. So that's what we do. We flip, we get the standby trigger. We are on level 1, so that means we can choose to get up to a level 2 and put it onto the field at rest. So I will choose the Ty Lee popular, and it goes into the backfield here at rest. So that's fantastic. The setup is working super nicely for this deck. Very, very, very good. And this also has a soul trigger. So that's 3 damage coming through. This should be reversed. 1, 2, 3. And that all comes through. So they take the 3 damage there. And the Katara will be reversed. Now, the Aang gets to go. So the Aang attacks. And again, he's just a normal trigger flip. So we go there. And this is doing 1, 2 damage. 1, 2. And that all comes in. The battle opponent will become reversed. His effect goes off, which says we can draw a card and discard a card, which we will do. So draw a card, get the May into hand, and we get to discard a card, which I'll discard. What do I want to discard? I'll just discard the Ty Lee, because I don't think I need it right now. But that is our turn. So, fantastic turn there. Lots of stuff went through. You can see the benefit of being able to choose the trigger, search deeper for the right trigger effect as well. They will choose to not hold on to any of these cards. And it is their turn. So they draw. They will... they'll clock. And they'll go up a level. So they're on level 2. They have yellow and blue in their level, so all the color stuff is perfectly fine. Draw 2. And you can see they have lots of kind of climaxes here as well, so that's pretty good. So yeah, that's what they're going to do. So they can use the effect of this now that the level is 2. So this is pay 1, put a card from your hand into the waiting room and get rid of this to play a level 3 Aang from hand. So we're going to put this onto the field. We're going to pay 1, get rid of that as well, and we do also have to discard another card also. So I'll just discard one of our extra yellow climax cards there, and that will be the cost to put the Aang onto the field. So the level 3 Aang for the trial deck gets to search for any card character into our hand. So we're at level 2 now. We probably want a level 2. So what can we get? There's nothing too fantastic on the board at the moment. So we'll just grab the level 2 Zhao out of the deck. So play the Zhao for 1. Play the Zuko onto the field also. We'll put the other siblings into the back row. And can we actually play this one? It's 1, discard a card. I think I'll wait for next turn to do that. It's maybe a little bit resource heavy at the moment. But yeah, this card gets power for each card in your opponent's backstage. So this is actually quite powerful at this point. So I think everything is pretty good, except maybe over there. Yeah, I think the best play is actually swap these two, and that way everything, all the attacks should go through. Now we go into climax phase, and we're going to play Fury of the Ocean Spirit. So the Aang will be able to trigger here. Again, it's plus 1k plus 1 soul for the climax card here. So we will lead with the Aang, I guess. So Aang, when this card attacks, Fury of the Ocean Spirit, you have 2 or more other characters. Deal 1 damage to your opponent, and this card gets 1,000 power until the end of turn. So before we even do our trigger check, we do a damage. So damage goes through. Now we do the trigger. So flip, nothing. And this is going to be 1, 2, 3 damage for the actual attack. So 1, cancelled. So that's all fine. The Azula will be reversed though. We have to remember that. Then Zhao. So this is just more of a normal attack. So flip, nothing. And then this is 2 damage. So 1, 2. So yeah, that's fine. That went through. The Azula will be reversed. Finally, the Zuko here, who actually I forgot to do Zuko's effect, which is should have been done a bit earlier, but I'll just do it now just to see what happens here. So put a character from our waiting room into our clock. I mean, look at the top card of your deck, and you can choose to keep it there or not. It is a trigger, so we'll keep it there. And then it gets the effect, which we'll see just now. So now we do the whoops. What did I do there? Sorry, this should be from the top of the deck here. So there. So we get this as the trigger. So this is doing 3 damage. So 1, 2, 3. It all goes through. The Aang will be reversed, and that allows the Zuko effect to trigger, which allows us to search to get a character from our waiting room, or Katara's necklace. So what are we trying to get at this point? We have the 2 Aangs. This deck only has 2 of those Aangs. Is there anything else? We'll grab the level 2 Sokka into hand, I suppose is something worth checking out, and that's from the waiting room, of course. And that brings their turn to an end. Now, in terms of where we are at, we are not going to pay for encores or anything like that for any of these characters. So we'll just let them all go away. We will draw for turn, and we will go up a level, I guess. So where are we at? Level 2, 0, I need the 1. This is a little tricky. So yeah, I'll just do the level 3 Katara into the clock. So there's that. I'll put a blue card into the clock. Yeah, I'll just put the level 3 Katara in. So we've gone up a level again. These should be stood up, of course. Draw 2 for the clock. Now, what do we want to do? So straight away, yeah, we'll put the level 2 Azula onto the field. Pay 2, she costs 2. And then we'll put level 1 Aang and level 1 Mei out onto the field as well. So I'll actually overplay this to get the Sokka onto the field, just because like Azula opens us up to being able to, you know, do a little bit more of our kind of like advantage play here. Especially with our deck running out, we don't mind using Sokka now, because we'll soon get a deck refresh and all the Sokkas will go back in. So this might be one of our last times to do that. So now it's just about trying to get the attacks right. Because we're going up against some quite heavy stuff. Because this is 11,500. So I don't think we can actually get over this at the moment. Does the Ty Lee do enough to get us over level times 500? So that's an extra 1,000. She gives herself an extra 500, so that's only 9,500. Mei gets somewhat high herself. This gets reasonably high. This is one of those ones where, like, I suppose just before this, like Mei's effect to give it something 500 activates, because I do have the resonance, because I have the level 3 Azulas on the field, should activate. But what are we at here? So this is at 6,000. This is at 9,000. Yeah, I think this is the best way I can actually do it. So there's going to have to be a few kind of weak attacks here that probably won't go fully through. So yeah, this is not going to be super great here. So we're probably just going to have to do some suicide attacks here. So yeah, we're just going to go frontal attack here. So Aang attacks in, we flip, don't get anything. And we are just doing the 1 damage. So flip, cancelled. Aang will be reversed. The Mei will attack the Aang. So again, we flip, nothing of note happening there. We're doing, again, 1 damage. Flip, this one actually goes through. But again, Mei will be reversed this time. And then the Azula will be a positive attack, so that's fine. And in this case, what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the effect. So we're going to put the Sokka to the grave here. That allows us to reveal the top card of our deck if it's a level 1, otherwise it stays there. So this becomes the trigger check for the Azula. The Azula will reverse. This is 2 damage coming through. So 1, 2. Okay, and yeah, so we have taken out the Sokka, so we'll pay 1. Another Sokka there. We'll give ourselves a damage from the waiting room. That allows us to get a character. The only character left in the deck, as you can see there's only 2 cards left in the deck, is this Yue. So we will overplay this Yue over the Aang. So the Aang will go straight to waiting room. This will go over here. And this will allow us to have another attack that goes through. So we flip. We trigger Siblings Agni Kai. So the standby happens. This is where the timing is a bit weird. Like, because it was the last card in my deck, do I do this and then have no waiting room? Or do I get to search the entire waiting room? I'm not really sure what way this works necessarily. I don't know what way that kind of particularly works. But let's see what we can do here. Let's say we just put the level 3 Azula in standby. Then the deck refresh happens. And then this is 2 damage coming through, so cancelled. And then Yue would be reversed against Zhao. So we will let our characters die here. They won't save their Zuko, so they'll let Zuko go away as well. And that's where we are going to end the turn. So, comes over to the Avatar deck's turn. Don't know what that card is there for. Now, at this point, I don't think this deck wants to clock anymore, so that's fine. But they can get the other Aang out by using the effect of this. So they're going to pay a stock, pay that. They're going to discard a card from their hand. And that will play the Aang out onto the field. The Aang allows for a deck search for a card. They will get the Iroh, level 2 Iroh assist. So they'll pay 1 to put the Iroh out onto the field into the back row. And then they'll hold on to these. So, yes, that's fine. And they'll go into climax phase. They'll play this. Again, it's 1k 1 soul here that's happening. So this won't trigger the climax of either of these 2 cards. But it will give an extra kind of soul kind of coming through. So, the Zhao attacks. So, trigger flip, nothing. And then this is going to be 1, 2, 3 because it's a direct attack. So, cancelled. the Aang will attack directly. So that's the trigger. So this is 4 because he's 2, 3, 4. 4 damage. So 1, 2 cancelled. This will be a frontal attack. So flip, nothing on the trigger. So it'll be 3 damage. 1, 2, 3, which goes through. The Azula will be reversed. And that is all of the attacks. Now, the Azula has an encore effect for just discarding a card from the hand. So we'll just discard the Ty Lee to encore Azula. We will then go into our turn. Yes, so we'll draw. Okay, now, what do we want to do here? We can't like fully go off this turn because we don't have the kind of climax card that we need. So what I'm actually going to do is... okay, so this should be standing up. These two should be standing up. I'll move the Azula up here. I'll do May here. I'll pay 1 for May's Brainstorm. So we get 1 climax, so we get 1 search here. I'll search for another level 2 Azula, or do I want to do that? It is our only level 2 play, really. I'll actually get the level 2 Katara back up, just because you can see the power kind of difference is a bit kind of much here at the moment. So, what are we doing? So there's not a lot I can really do here. Just build up until probably the next turn, really. I'll hold on to this, yeah, probably for next turn will be our kind of big play. I need to keep the Ty Lee there and just kind of do what I can, I think, for now. So, what way are we going to work this? So, flip over here. So this is at 9,500. 9,500 because it's 1,000 from Ty Lee, 500 from herself, and then the resonate effect of May boosts her higher by 500. So that will be a reverse. The Azula gets plus 500 power times the number of cards our opponent has, which is 400 to 2,000, 1,100. So yeah, this will go over, so that's fine. So yeah, we'll do that. Attack in the middle here. So flip, nothing. It will be a reverse, and it will be 2 damage. So 1, 2, cancelled. Then this, which also will be a reverse. So we flip, nothing. We reverse for 2 damage, but it is cancelled. And that will end the turn. So they will pay the 3 for the Aang to protect the Aang. Can't, or wait, can they pay this for Sokka? No, that's the level. This is what they have in hand. No, they'll just let the Zhao go. So draw. These will stand up. No triggers or anything like that. They'll pay 1 for Sokka, and then I'll put this Sokka into the back row, and they won't use any of these effects here. And then this has 1,000 times each of your other characters. So yeah, that'll be fine where it is. So yeah, we'll just attack in with the Sokka. So we do the trigger check, nothing. This will be just 1 damage, so 1. Azula will be reversed. His effect only goes off if there's a climax card in play. So that's that. Deck refresh is required. Next attack. Flip. This is 2 damage. 1, 2, cancelled. And this is an open attack, so flip. Send this back to hand with this, and this will be 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4. So all of that goes through. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1. Go up to level 3. And then we have 3 damage. And that's fine. Are we going to encore there? I don't think we are. And so we'll let the Azula go. And we'll go. So we draw. So 6 stock. Each of them removes a damage. So yeah, we just don't have the climax card for the combo here, which is a bit unfortunate. But all of these should be pretty powerful, I think. So yeah, I'll swap this so we get the level boost here. So Tylee is giving 1,500 to each of these. Each of Azula's own effects is giving 2,500, so that's plus 4,000, so it's 13,000. So these two Azulas are more powerful by default. This Azula is boosted by the resonance effect of the May as well. So that's fine. This Azula will go over this one, no problem. So yeah, these should all be positive attacks either way. So, first up, flip. Nothing. 2 damage. Okay, so we go up a level. This is reversed. This attacks. Flip. Nothing. This will be reversed. 2 damage. And this attack. Flip. Nothing. 2 damage. This will be reversed. Pay 3 to save an Aang, but the others will have to go. So, you know, that turn, like, we didn't quite have the climax cards. We haven't really drawn into climax cards, which I would definitely say is the weakness of the Azula deck, is that, like, there's not a lot of just straight up, like, card draw as such in the deck, or, like, ability to, like, specifically search for non-character cards. So you do need to rely on just the draw and then the clock double draw to kind of get what you need. There is the Momos to kind of swap climaxes, but we didn't even have that many of the other climax card either. So that it's important to keep that in mind as well. But yeah, now this deck draws. So they have the Katara, but they don't have the stock required to really do anything here. So yeah, this deck can't really do all that much at the moment. It's tricky because, like, with the clock, they just get themselves closer because they still don't have the ability to put too much more powerful stuff on board. And they're not going to do damage, so they just have to kind of try and push through here, I think. Now, are they powerful enough to defeat any of these? So the that effect goes away. The assist lasts at all times. This is only when Azula attacks, so it 10,500. Yeah, that's fine. So this attacks, so flip, trigger check, nothing. This will be reversed and 2 damage. 1, 2. That's fine, and that will end the turn. And I will let the Azula die. Goes back around to our turn. So we draw. Let's see, just for the lols, I'll clock. Draw 2. There's the Siblings Agni Kai. Okay, so what we'll do here is we'll pay 2. Put Azula on the board. Azula heals 1. Anything else that we need? I'll overplay Sokka over May. Now this is probably overkill because I think we just need to do 3 damage and we kill the opponent. The only problem here could be that we actually maybe do too much damage, that it forces triggers, but we will see what happens. So there's that. Yeah. So yeah, we'll play Siblings Agni Kai and we will go. So first up, let's see what happens here. So for the Azula's effect to go off, she needs to kill an opponent. So let's just do the straightforward attacks first. So this one goes through. So the effect won't activate for Azula here. So we'll just do normal attack. And then this is what, 3 damage? 1 cancelled, okay. Yeah, I'll do the middle Azula this time out. So this one will be actually attempting the reverse, but we have to do a deck refresh, which ultimately helps the Sokka play, because we need the Sokkas in play as much as possible. So this should get like 2 or 3 Sokkas back into play. We take a damage for the deck refresh. And so yeah, we attack. So we do our normal trigger check. So we get the +1 soul. We are doing how much damage here? 1, 2, 3. 1 cancelled. Okay. Now, our battle opponent will become reversed. We then pay 1. And we kill a character. We kill Sokka. This will then allow us to put the battle opponent, this one, on top of our opponent's deck and deal 3 damage. 1, 2, 3. And that is actually the game. So you can see there 7 damage at level 3. This is their opponent's hand. But let's just say we continue on. So we would pay 1 for the Sokka. We'd give ourselves a damage from the clock. This would allow us to search for a character. We'll put Sokka. Would overplay the first Azula. This would allow us Sokka to attack a now kind of open board here. So you can see Sokka would then attack, not really do anything. Then the Azula would also get to attack. So that would be what, like 1, 2 extra damage. Then the Azula would attack, flip, nothing. And that would be, what, 3 damage. 1, 2, 3. So you can see, like, we had the potential to output, like, 7, like, game finish, and then +5 extra damage. So there is the victory for the Azula deck, showing it in action.